I'm joined tonight by Manijeh Hekmat, who's the director of Bandar Band, and we're going to have a little chat about her film and about Iranian cinema. Hello, my name's Kate Fitzpatrick, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, learn and work. I'm currently located on the lands of the Bunurong people, and I'd like to pay my respect to elders past and present. MIFF celebrates the history and contemporary creativity of the world's oldest living culture. MIFF talks are presented in partnership with the University of Melbourne. Manijeh Hekmat is a writer, producer and director who's been working in the industry for many decades. After starting out as an associate, she directed her first feature film, Women's Prison, in 2002, and has gone on to direct other films, Three Women in 2008 and Old Road in 2018, among others. Her latest film, Bandar Band, which is screening at MIFF this year, premiered at the Toronto Film Festival last year. Thanks for joining us, Manijeh. It's an honour to speak to you tonight.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for choosing my film for Melbourne Festival. I hope that the audience will watch it and like it, and I also thank the jury that they choose the film.
I'd like to ask you a general question about filmmaking. Getting a film made in any capacity is a difficult proposition. Can you talk about particular challenges that you face getting a film made in Iran?
I would like to say that maybe about 6 years ago, that we have an opportunity, a kind of opportunity to maybe make films and run projects. It was better. But after that, we had lots of projects, lots of films, lots of programs that were supported and run by different organizations. But the independent filmmaking industry was kind of alone on its own and isolated. So the independent cinema had two ways, either to compromise with those specific organizations or find a different way for itself. So that was the time that I said that there should be a movement, there should be something to be done. And then I announced that I am grieving for our cinema, but also I said that even with a very low budget, still, and of course different stories and scenarios, it is absolutely difficult, but I could make 5 or 6 films, including Bandar Band, and I made it. So with some other people who had the concerns of cinema and being a bit alone and supportless without having enough budget, it was definitely too difficult, but still possible to make some films.
So, speaking of a Bandar Band specifically, it's such a beautifully shot film. Like there's a lot of landscape shots, but they're very extreme conditions that you're filming in. Can you talk about the obstacles or the challenges that filming in that way presented, or any advantages?
Before I answer this question, I would like to take this opportunity to talk about, I don't know if you are aware about the current conditions and situation in Kurdistan, and a state in Iran, who are facing lots of trouble. They don't have water for their purposes of living. And also that state is that people are always facing rather natural disasters, being unsupported in natural disasters, or suffering from not having water. So I would like to give the honor of this film to Kurdistan people. But after that, about making a film in the natural field, it would be enjoyable but absolutely difficult. The conditions that we made that film was really, really challenging. For example, in some situation, the roads was not, it was not a proper road, and we were every minute we were expecting that maybe we have to go back because the vehicle couldn't just be driving any further. But what made this possible was a great, great hardworking teams working with us. That if it was not because of them, it wouldn't have been done impossible. We knew that we're gonna face lots of challenges and difficulties, but now that I'm looking at the result, I'm happy and it worth it. So all the team members, they were trying, they were working so hard in 24 hours they had just 3 or 4 hours of sleep, but we knew what we were after. And of course all the filmmakers know that if it's a kind of documentary or if it's shooting in a natural fields, that's going to be really a challenge.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point because the film, it has kind of like a documentary feel to it in parts. Like it's a beautiful drama between the three friends on the bus, but the encounters that they have along the way, where they happen upon some friends, they happen upon police. They've got this kind of very yeah, like an observational documentary feel to it at times.
Yeah, likewise, my previous films that they were kind of the same, like the women's prison. So that kind of observation was there as well.
Yes, I was thinking about that film. You have this a tendency to make films that explore social justice themes. So I mean, I think it's that the film about the women's prison spans 18 years. Old Road explores themes of violence against women. Even Bandar Band can be seen as a critique of political obstacles that people face in their everyday life. Is that your primary passion for filmmaking, an innate sense of social justice?
عدالت اجتماعی خیلی
So, talking
کلمه
about
خیلی
social
خوبیه
justice, that
که
is
تو
a very great
خاورمیانه تقریبا
word,
گم
which
شده.
is missed and lost in here in Middle
من
East. I would say that it's
اساس
not just
عدالت
social
اجتماعی
justice that
نمیتونم
I'm looking
با
for
این دو
to
کلمه
just
فیلمش
picture it in
کنم.
my
یک
films.
مجموعه
It
است.
is a
من
collection of all the
اطرافیانم، از
circumstances
پیرامونم،
and
از
conditions
شرایط محیطی که
happening here
میگذرم
in
برای
Middle
کارم
East.
شروع
It could
میکنم.
be lack of social justice is
وقتی
just
که در
one of
خاورمیانه زندگی
thousands of
کنی فقط اراده
humanitarian
عدالت اجتماعی
problems
تو
that people in
میتونسته
Middle East
هزار
are
هزار
facing.
مشکل
When I want
بشری
to
رو
make a film, I'm just
تا اینکه
noticing
در
to
قالب یک
my
فیلم
environment
تصویری
around me.
سطح
So there are lots
باید
of things,
مراقبت
lots of
کنی و
problems and issues and these concerns going
اینکه
on. And it is very
دیدگاهی که داری
difficult
میبینی
that when you want to
اون
make a
فلسفه
film, that
وجودی فیلمی که
philosophy,
از
that
اون ور
drama, that
گرفته
your
شده باشه که
scenario,
تصویر
you
کنی
you should be
درامش رو در
able to
بیاری و
picture all
قصت رو
of that
بگی.
in your film. And it
به هر
is
حال
not
اینها همه
possible to
زنجیره به
picture
هم
all
پیوسته
these
است،
concerns
سکه
in
اصلی رو
one
به وجود
solid
میاره.
film.
ولی خب
And
دغدغه
my
من هم
concerns
دغدغه
are lack
اجتماعی
of
هم
social
دغدغه
justice,
سیاسیه،
are political
هم
issues,
مشکلات
are
متعددی که
economical
وجود داره، هم
disasters,
دغدغه
and all these
اقتصادیه.
problems in Middle East. And
دغدغه
I
اهالی
would like that
خاورمیانه و
the
ایران
global
همینه
crowd or
همینه
all
ما
other
باید
film
دنیا باید
industry
کمک کنه ما
support us,
تنها
that the
نباشیم،
independent
فیلمساز
filmmakers
مستقل
should not
تنها
stay
نباشه
alone and
و این
supportless. The
حمایت
independent
داشته باشه.
filmmakers need this support
همه
from the
همینه.
global.
You've been very fortunate to have quite a long career in the film industry. Can you talk about what led you to filmmaking in the first place? Like what inspired you to become a filmmaker? And can you talk about how you've navigated your career path since then?
Since I was 14 years old, I became involved in the cinema and pictures. It was free cinema, the Iranian free cinema and young cinema industry. And it was my younghood period was involved in the revolution in Iran that time. So that period of my life, which was trying and exploring, was tied and involved with revolution, with incidents, with cinema, with books, with lots of things happening. And for me, in that time, with those heaps of loads of data and things that I was observing and realizing, cinema was very attractive and one of the best fields that I could export what I was receiving from the political, the society, and also economical condition in my country. Cinema was a great field to work, and of course I do love cinema, and that's why I started experiencing. And being an independent filmmaker, that made everything, of course, a bit difficult, because as an independent filmmaker, you're going to face lots of obstacles, lots of problems, and being an open-minded person to go to do and go and follow this journey, that is a fact that it's really difficult and challenging to achieve what you're after.
Do you find with the independent filmmaking community in Iran that it is a supportive community? Do you find support through other independent filmmakers as well?
We have been really decreased because so many of those independent filmmakers, they have been offered money and some budgets, and so unfortunately it has been a kind of chain, had to compromise, or maybe it was not just the force of life and their economical need that made them to compromise and accept their offer. Maybe sometimes in some cases they were just eager, but anyway, so many of them, they joined the class that we are criticizing them, but at the end they are less people but supportive.
Can you talk about some of your influences? Have you been influenced by other great Iranian filmmakers or other filmmakers worldwide?
I
should say that we started being assistant to some of the great filmmakers before the revolution. Lots of great first-class filmmakers like Mr. Abbas Kiarostami, Sohrab Shahid Sales, Hojair Daryush, Freydun Gole, and others. These first-class filmmakers, they made us to fall in love with their products, with their films. And from talking about the global filmmakers, I've loved the realist films from decade 40 and 50 in Europe as well as America. We grew up with this realist industry, and that was the most inspiring cinema, and still that is the most attractive films and cinema for me.
Yeah, it's I was reading recently there are a lot of comparisons made between Iranian cinema and the neo-realist cinema, Italian specifically, but that there's also essentially a very Iranian cinematic language to Iranian cinema. Can you talk about that? And is an Iranian perspective, or at least the Iranian cinematic language, something that you think about when you're making films?
من فکر میکنم که به هر حال ریشه‌های ما در این خاک و در این سرزمینه.
So maybe I can say that while being born in Iran and raising in Iran, so willy-nilly, quite maybe unconsciously, the philosophy of life and the roots that our roots are just growing in Iran, it's going to impact us. We're going to be influenced by that. So I personally do not believe that cinema can be spread like by borders, but I would like to say that unconsciously or consciously, according to Iran's history, when making a picture, the result going to be impacted by that. So the whole collection of circumstances maybe can create an Iranian perspective. The tradition, the normal life, or even the modernized all together. And just like any other filmmakers from any other countries, that according to the circumstances that they are living, they probably can have a specific language of filmmaking. So the society, the economic, the political condition, they definitely can influence on the result. And so, for example, the filmmakers, the philosophy, even the poetry, and anything can be influenced by the history and by that environment that they are growing. It's something inevitable.
اینا همه دخیل در نگاه ما به مجموعه کارمون که میکنیم.
Yes, indeed. I'm so excited that as part of our special program on New Iranian Cinema, we have 3 films directed by women, all of which feature very strong female characters. Ballad of a White Cow, the central character, has an incredible innate strength. A Radiograph of a Family is a fantastic portrait of the director's mother and her search for identity, her own identity aside from her family. And even the Mitra in Bandar Band is a very formidable woman who's very pregnant and takes to the road. So this is quite a long question, sorry. And I was interested to learn that at least through the 80s and 90s, the percentage of female filmmakers in Iran was actually higher than a lot of Western countries. And this seems to be at odds with this Western view that women are not very strong in Iran. I'm interested to hear your thoughts about that and also your own experiences as a woman making films.
من نمایی که میتونم باز کنم از حضور زنان در ایران با
If I want to just open a perspective of from to these Iranian women's activity in cinema, I would like to say that despite all the problems, all the obstacles, all the limiting rules or tradition or all the limiting conditions, but all the time Iranian women have been pioneer to many fields that they have been working in having activity. So like in making either short films or long films. This is a phenomenon for Iranian women that despite all the obstacles and challenges in society or economically or all the other obstacles, they were kind of jumping over the obstacles. I don't want to compare Iranian women with other Middle Eastern women, but I believe that it's not the same. Talking about Iranian women activity, as I said, it is like a phenomenon that maybe it after a time, from a social study, they could just discover that how these women could overwhelm and pass these obstacles with very low support and low costs. They are trying to reach to a gender equality. People making the rules, they are trying, but at the end, they have to accept, and they never would be able to omit us, although they would try to. So as I said, that I don't know myself that how, despite lots of problems and issues, the Iranian women have done really a perfect job. And they have been really active in so many different fields. And as I said, that they cannot omit and ignore us.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, Manijeh. It was a real pleasure to hear your insights.
And I also thank you for giving me the opportunity in this time to have a little talk about Iranian cinema's industry.
Please be sure and check out the rest of our talks program, plus all of our other fantastic programs at the festival, in particular the film program focusing on new Iranian cinema. And you can find all that at miff.com.au.